everybody. Welcome once again to the Sports Deep Dive Podcast. I'm your host, Rogers Harrison. Today I'm joined by Brian Koperick.
Hey, everybody.
Co-hosting with me today. Brian, we're going to continue our series of sports and the media.
Ooh.
Part one, we looked at the NCAA and all their various parts. And today, we're going to look at the National Football League.
Okay.
All right, so let's take a look at the NFL. I will tell you that the National Football League was founded in 1920 as the American Professional Football Association, the APFA. It had 10 teams from 4 states. Now, the league took its current name, NFL, in 1922. Okay, only 2 founding members are still in the league, the Decatur Staleys, now known as the Chicago Bears, and the Racine Cardinals, who were founded in 1898, joined the NFL in 1920, are now the Arizona Cardinals.
Racine, now that would have been in Illinois, right? Racine, Illinois?
I thought Racine was Wisconsin.
Oh.
Is it Illinois?
I don't know.
Well, nevertheless, they are the oldest NFL franchise because, like I said, founded in 1898 and joined the league in 1920.
That's interesting.
So, that team from the desert is the NFL's oldest franchise. It is Wisconsin? Yeah, I was right.
You're always right, Rogers.
All right.
I don't know why I ever argue with you.
I know. NBC was the first major television network to cover an NFL game when on October 22nd, 1939, it broadcast the game between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Brooklyn Dodgers. The network, NBC, was only in its infancy with only 2 affiliates. The modern-day WRGB, which is now a CBS affiliate, in Shakopee, New York, and W2XBS, an experimental station in New York City, and that is now known as WNBC.
Ah.
So only 2 stations covered that Eagles-Brooklyn Dodgers game. The use of a sideline camera, the sole camera used in the 1939 broadcast, would become the standard for all future NFL broadcasts.
A single camera.
Yep. Well, 1939. And
People would be losing their minds today if there was a single camera.
Well, yeah, all it had was the sidelines. That's all it needed, right? All right, so regular broadcasts of games began after World War II, and the first NFL championship to be televised was the 1948 match between the Eagles and the Chicago Cardinals.
Oh, now it's getting spicy.
All right, in 1950, the Los Angeles Rams and the Washington Redskins, they were known back then as the Redskins, became the first NFL teams to have all of their games, home and away, televised. So you had an East Coast team and you had a West Coast team.
Okay.
In the same year, other teams made deals to have selected games telecast. The DuMont Network. Now, by the DuMont Network, you shouldn't because it's no longer around. The DuMont Network then paid a rights fee for $75,000 to broadcast the 1951 NFL Championship game across the entire nation.
Yeah, you couldn't even buy a 3-second commercial for $75,000 now.
$75,000 back then is almost $1 million in today's money. So that gives you an idea.
Yeah.
So they paid $1 million to broadcast the in today's money, 51 NFL Championship game. So from 53 to 55, the DuMont Network also televised Saturday night NFL games.
Saturday night NFL games. We only get that during the playoffs now.
And there's a reason for that, and I'll talk about that later in the podcast.
All right.
You're jumping the gun there, BK.
I'm sorry. You know how I am. Gotta say what I think.
Now, it was the first time the NFL was broadcast live, coast to coast, in prime time for the entire season, that Saturday night package. Dumont also had Sunday regional coverage alongside ABC.
Okay.
All right, so for today, today and this year, very similar package that the NBA has with ABC. They'll have a Saturday night game, and then they'll have a Sunday afternoon game once football season is over. So very similar. Dumont had a Saturday night game, and then regional games along with ABC on Sunday. Now, that Sunday regional games, the games were negotiated by the teams as opposed to the league as a whole. So if you think back, what I've talked to you before,
Yep. Started out
they've all negotiated with the teams, the Eagles and the Rams and the Redskins at the time. Now, Dumont focused on teams that played in markets that had one of the network's owned and operated stations.
Okay.
Because just it would make it easy. And so they offered regional coverage of the New York Giants, WABD, which is now WNYW, the Pittsburgh Steelers, WDTV, which is now KDKA, and the Washington Redskins, WTTG.
Okay.
Now, ABC opted to go by region, initially offering the Bears and the Cardinals nationally before regulating them to mostly the Midwest,
Okay.
right? And then they offered the Rams and the 49ers for the Western markets, and they also did the Redskins for the Eastern and Southern markets. So the Redskins, I guess, tried to cover all their bases and then had a contract with both Dumont and with ABC.
Which is why for a long time the Redskins were one of those teams that a lot of Americans rooted for. Probably because they could see them on TV.
Well, and also to the fact that their freaking entire territory was the Southeast.
Right.
There was no Dolphins. There was no Jaguars. There was no Panthers or Falcons, Titans or Saints. I mean, it was all Redskins territory.
Right.
So, but yes. All right. Now here comes why you haven't heard of Dumont. Are you ready? By 1955, Dumont was in terminal decline. Woo. Now, they had a merger attempt with ABC, but the Dumont shareholder, now get this, you know who the major Dumont shareholder was back then? Paramount Pictures.
Oh, really?
Yes. So Paramount Pictures, and so Dumont tried to merge with ABC. Paramount said no. Yeah, we'll wait, 50 years and we can try it again with CBS. But anyway. So, Dumont broadcast of the National Football League ended after the 1955 season when the network folded.
Gotcha.
So Paramount's like, well, crap. I mean, now we got nothing for our shares. Stupid. We're never going to get TV again. Famous last words.
Paramount Plus.
But if you think about it, Dumont in 1954 had only 18 affiliates. So they weren't really attractive to the NFL.
Right.
I mean, the NFL was young, and so they could get what they had. But, 18 affiliates, that doesn't really crack. That just scratches the surface. All right, so later in 1955, NBC became the televised home of the NFL championship game. Paying $100,000 to the league. So they paid it to the league, they didn't pay it to the teams. The 1958 NFL championship game, played at Yankee Stadium between the Baltimore Colts and the New York Giants, went into sudden death overtime. Now, the game has been dubbed the greatest game ever played. It was watched widely throughout the country and is credited with increasing the popularity of professional football in the late 50s and early 60s. So that game right there between the Giants and the Colts NFL championship game.
Help put them on the map.
Help put them on the map. Now, CBS began to televise selected NFL regular season games in 1956. That same year, the rights fee for the 1956 NFL championship game rose to $200,000. So the year before, NBC had paid $100,000, and now it's $200,000. All right, so this is probably, we're entering the history where you probably are more familiar with things. The American Football League began play in 1960, the AFL.
Yep.
It signed a 5-year television contract with ABC.
Okay. Again, the league is now in control of the media rights, not the teams.
Well, yeah. I mean, the AFL just founded, and so yes, ABC approached the AFL and said, "You want to televise your games?"
Will do.
And they said, "Yes, please. We need all the exposure." So this became the first television deal for league as a whole. So there you go.
Yeah.
You were right on the money. It's amazing what you can accomplish when you put your mind to it.
Exactly.
Right?
I mean,
just
occasionally
amazing.
The squirrel finds an acorn, right?
Now, this is a big deal because the small market NFL teams were not being televised. So like the Green Bay Packers, nobody was televising them because, like we pointed out, the networks were focusing on the Redskins, the Giants, the Rams, the 49ers, those big markets. Yeah, Steelers maybe, but not the Packers. And I don't know if you remember, but the AFL had some of these smaller markets, like Cincinnati, for instance.
Houston. Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that. So that meant that, ABC gave their money to the league, and then the proceeds were divided among the clubs. Sound familiar?
Yes.
Because that's kind of what it is today.
Yep.
So ABC and the AFL also introduced moving on-field cameras. What? As opposed to the fixed midfield cameras of CBS and the NFL. Look at ABC, being the forefront, the Fox of the time.
I would love to see what that actually looked like, though, because now today we've got these big cable systems and it's all up here. I mean, was this 13 guys pushing a cart with a camera on it, out of the way as they're running? I mean,
I guess.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would have been pretty wild to see how that worked.
Now, here's something that ABC also invented or initiated, and it's still being done today, and most people don't like it, and that is ABC also had players mic'd during the broadcast games.
Okay.
And a lot of people are like, I don't want to know what the players are thinking. I just want to watch them play.
No,
So,
I kind of.
but they that started, and that's happened. That's in the NFL. That's in Major League Baseball. That's in the NBA.
Yeah, NHL does it occasionally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also this. All right, you ready for this? You ready for this big innovation that the AFL did? Are you ready? The AFL also had players' names stitched on their jersey.
No.
Yes.
Say it's not
That
so.
way it was easier for both the TV and the viewers to tell who is who.
You know what? Probably one of the smartest things anybody's ever done as far as building fandom, right? Because it's so much easier to keep up with than trying to keep up with everybody. You learn their number by their name, not the other way around.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like for instance, right now the Predators just went under this big change. I know we're talking NFL, but just as an example. And so I'm having to learn a whole bunch of new players, right, on that team. And if their names weren't on the back, I would never get it. Like, it would take forever. So I like that the names are on the back of the jerseys.
The way the Predators are playing, you probably don't want to know those names on the back of their jersey
You're probably right.
because they won't be here long.
They're not. Yes.
All right, as of the 1961 season, CBS held the rights to all but one of the NFL's teams. Can you guess which one?
Redskins.
No. You're going to get two more guesses. It's a team that now plays in the AFC.
The Houston Oilers.
No.
The
Oh, God, Lord. All right, you obviously don't know your NFL history. 61, CBS had all the rights to all but one NFL teams, the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, well, who wants the rights to that?
The Cleveland Browns were one of the most popular teams in the 1960s. What are you talking about? All right, the Cleveland had a contract with the Sports Network Incorporated, known as SNI. And they carried their games over a regional network. However, the Browns and SNI were forced to break their deal when the NFL and CBS devised their own revenue sharing plan after CBS agreed to telecast all regular season games for an annual fee of $4.6 million.
Ooh.
Today, that would be $48.75 million. So there you go. So none of this, $200,000 stuff. We're talking millions now.
Uh-oh.
CBS forking over some
Breaking out the
dude.
bread.
Yes. All right, let's see. He's got me, got me all over the place here. Talk among yourselves, Brian. Here it is. All right, so let's go. So we're in 1961, right?
Okay.
And once again, the law gets involved like they did with the NCAA.
Oh.
Special antitrust exemption. The Sports Broadcasting Act of 1961 was passed in Congress to amend antitrust laws to allow, among others, sports leagues to pool the broadcasting rights for all their teams and sign league-wide exclusive contracts with national networks. Does this sound familiar?
It does.
Because that's exactly what happened with the NCAA when teams or schools basically gave, it was like, all right, we'll give our rights to the conferences now.
Right.
And that's the mess we're in now. The act also established the attendance-driven blackout rule. We can talk more about that. And stated the NFL cannot be televised on Saturdays from the second Saturday in September to the second Saturday in December. What is happening on Saturdays from the second Saturday in September to the second Saturday in December?
College football.
College football. They didn't want to, the NCAA was like, no, you can't, don't. That's our day, please. So that is why we don't have
until the playoffs.
Or some late season.
Yeah.
After the conference championships. The act also allowed a few Friday night games. Now, the NFL has only used the Friday night clause if, like, for instance, I think there was a year where the Miami Dolphins, like a hurricane was approaching. And so they moved the game from Sunday to a Friday night. But they didn't want to also ruin high school football. So, yeah, neat, huh?
Yeah.
All right, so the blackout rule. Do you remember the blackout rule? I mean, the attendance blackout rule?
Yeah.
All right. Well, do you want to tell the folks about the attendance blackout rule?
Well, I mean, it used to be at a certain point, if they weren't sold out or whatever, then they would block out the game on TV.
In the local market.
Yeah, and you wouldn't be able to watch it.
Right, which I always thought was funny, because if your team sucks and they don't sell out, right? Because it was like, I don't want to see them. I'm not going to. They didn't sell out. You couldn't see your sucky team
play at all.
So CBS or NBC or whoever, or Fox, whoever was doing it at the time, would show you a better game.
Right.
They would show you the game, their top national game of the week. But that blackout rule has since disappeared.
Yes.
And now you can see your team in your market, whether they suck or not.
Or they wouldn't have played one Titans game this year.
Or they wouldn't have shown one on TV.
Right.
In Nashville. Right. All right. CBS fee leader increased to $14.1 million per year in '64 and $18.8 million per year in '66. So, they're going up. So, with NBC paying the AFL $36 million in '65, it's no longer on ABC. It's now on NBC, the AFL. They had a big battle over college prospects. It's like, all right, if I draft this guy, will I draft this guy? Is this guy going to go to the NFL? Is he going to go to the AFL? What's going to happen? And so because of that, both leagues negotiated a merger agreement on June 8th, '66, and then we know what happened. In 1970, they officially combined into one league known as the National Football League, and you had the AFC and the NFC. And because you obviously aren't familiar, 3 teams moved over from the NFL to now the AFC, so from the NFC to the AFC. Do you know those teams?
I do not.
You do not. The Cleveland Browns, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and at the time the Baltimore Colts.
Gotcha.
Those 3 teams moved over to help the AFC, gain some popularity and some momentum. And then, in one of the agreements is that the winners of the 2 leagues would meet together for the championship. And we know now that is the Super Bowl.
That's right.
So the first AFL-NFL World Championship game was played on January 15th, 1967, between the NFL Packers and who? Who represented the AFL? Okay, yeah, the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, way to go, Brian. Way to hang in there. As CBS held the rights to nationally televise NFL games, and NBC had the rights to broadcast AFL games, it was decided that both would cover that first game.
Okay. So they actually had it on both networks.
Yes.
But you had the one that was just in the center, and the other ones are doing all the stuff.
Okay, Brian.
Or had
Brian.
at that point they gotten to
this is
cameras.
This is 1967, so yes.
Okay.
7 years.
Everybody's doing on
7 years had passed.
So now you got cameramen running into each other. It's total chaos.
I'm sure they used the same feed.
You think?
And they just used different announcers.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking.
I don't know.
Anyway. So the next 3 AFL NFL World Championship games, later known as Super Bowls, yeah, thanks for playing, Brian, were then divided by the 2 networks. CBS broadcast Super Bowls 2 and 4, while NBC covered 3.
Okay.
So you got it? So just like it is today, They are trading off who covers the Super Bowl, right?
Right.
All right. So 1970 happens. They merge, divided between, and now they become the American Football Conference, AFC, and the National Football Conference, the NFC. It was decided that CBS would televise all NFC teams, including playoff games, while NBC would be responsible for all AFC teams. For interconference games, and this was the norm, and until a few years ago, CBS would broadcast them if the visiting team was from the NFC, and NBC if the visitors were from the AFCs. And like it is today, the two networks had a rotation policy for the Super Bowl. Now, that changed a few years ago because of the Thanksgiving Day game, because the Detroit Lions and the Dallas Cowboys are both NFC teams.
Right.
And so, and then sometimes you had the way that, like the Sunday night games be chosen or the Monday night games would be chosen. One Sunday network would be short.
A game here or there.
Yeah, and so to make it even, they would. So now it's still kind of NFC, AFC between the networks.
But they trade a few.
But but you might see a Commanders Eagles game on CBS, which is the AFC station now. But I'm jumping ahead. ABC also agreed to televise one regular season game per week on Monday night. So we're getting into Brian's lifetime here, right? ABC aired its first edition of Monday Night Football on September 21st, 1970. Monday Night Football pushed the limits of football coverage with its halftime highlights segment. Occasional banter from Howard Cosell and Don Meredith, and celebrity guests such as John Lemon, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton.
Yes.
Very cool.
During its 36-year run on ABC, Monday Night Football consistently ranked among the most popular primetime broadcasts each week during the season.
Yep.
Yep.
1978,
the NFL increased revenues from both ticket sales and TV by expanding the regular season from 14 games to 16 games. Furthermore, the playoff format was expanded from 8 teams to 10 teams, enabling the league to give another postseason game each to CBS and NBC. And this was partly due to the league's 1976 expansion to 28 teams. You know what? One of the teams that came aboard in 1976? At the time, they wore creamsicle uniforms. They don't anymore.
I don't know.
That'd be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oh.
Super Bowl became a yearly ratings blockbuster as it is today, allowing the broadcasting network to generate millions of dollars in advertising revenue. Right? 4 of the 10 highest rated television broadcasts of all time in the United States are Super Bowls. Now, when the league signed a new 5-year TV contract with the 3 networks in '82, it allowed ABC to enter into the Super Bowl rotation. And Super Bowl 19 was ABC's debut.
Okay.
So they finally got to televise.
They got to get in there.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's move ahead. Contracts were signed in December 1993. CBS, which had been home to NFC games for 38 years, lost their rights to who? Okay, the fledgling Fox network. Thanks for keeping up, Brian. And it just so happened that CBS also lost its Major League Baseball coverage after that same year to
ESPN.
Fox. Yeah,
Fox.
wait a. Fox offered then a record $1.58 billion, that's billion with a B, to the NFL for 4 years. And that was significantly more than the $290 million with an M, per year offered by CBS. So the NFL said, see ya, CBS.
Right. I'll take billion instead of million.
There's no loyalty here.
Show me the money.
Yeah, go back to televising golf. Fox was only 7 years old at the time and had no sports division. But it began building its own coverage by hiring away many former CBS personalities such as Pat Summerall and John Madden. I mean, why not? They had nowhere to go.
Right. I mean, everything that just moved. Why would they not move?
Yes. So Fox NFL's right ownership made the network a major player in American television by attracting many new viewers and affiliates, and gave them a platform to advertise its other shows. In the meantime, CBS lost several affiliates, mainly owned by New World Communications and NFC Markets, and that I was witness to that because in Atlanta, where I was at the time, the games were moved to what would become the WB affiliate.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember that network.
Yeah.
But with all this reshuffling, the CBS affiliate became the Fox affiliate, and so the games were moved back to that station.
I gotcha.
So it's a little weird. So ABC. All right, let's move up ahead. ABC, NBC, TNT, and ESPN renewed their contracts back in the 90s, in December of 93. Now, I don't know if you remember, but TNT and ESPN used to split Sunday Night Football.
Yeah.
And they started, and they did that from 90 to 97. So because of ESPN's baseball obligations, TNT had the first half, and the ESPN would have the second half of the season. So it worked out well. Now, TNT was able to get a stipulation that the Atlanta Falcons, based in TNT's home city of Atlanta, be featured on TNT once a year, regardless of the previous season's record. And I remember seeing a Sunday Night Football game on TNT between the Falcons and the Cincinnati Bengals. Good times. So that meant that television contract negotiations in early 1988 were going to be big, right? Because in the 5 years previous, Fox said, hey, we'll give you $1 billion. Here, take it. And CBS, you're out in the cold. So CBS was, was hurting. Didn't have any football. Didn't have any football because, I'm sorry, I lost my thing. CBS, as you know, did not have any football, right? So they were hurting. So and they were trying to get back. And so they agreed to pay $4 billion over 8 years, $500 million per season, to air the AFC.
Okay.
So, and they have that day. And so NBC was out.
Yeah.
Now, NBC had indicated a desire to bid for Monday Night Football in 88. But gave it up after, the financial commitment. So, it's like, no, we can't do that. So NBC, after 6 decades, was out. And remember, they were the beginning.
Right, they were the first ones.
They were the first ones. They showed the Brooklyn Dodgers and the Eagles. So they were out, and they're like, son of a. So here's an interesting fact. 2004, 2005, prime time, NBC carried no major sporting championships.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Huh.
They didn't have baseball. They didn't have the NFL.
No college. Because
they didn't have the NBA had already moved.
Wow.
Because they lost the NBA in 2002. They had hockey in 2004, but if you remember, they had a lockout that season.
Yeah.
And so NBC had no sports championships in prime time for that season.
Dang.
And also at the time, I mean, and you could still say it's still the case, hockey wasn't very popular, was the least popular of the majors.
Yeah.
All right, so NBC tried to replace NFL with the XFL. Do you remember that? The first XFL in 2001. The Arena Football League from 2003 to 2006. Yeah, that didn't work.
Yeah.
Like CBS, NBC would decide, we gotta get this back. I mean, it's hurting our bottom line. We kind of need it back. Now, you're probably wondering about the ESPN TNT Sunday night deal.
Yeah.
So the NFL during when negotiations came up in '98. Said, hey, ESPN, TNT, you're doing a great job splitting the season, but we want more money.
Right.
And TNT was like, okay, well, great, we'll give you more money. You're going to give us more games? And they're like, no, you two networks are still going to continue to split the season. And TNT said, F you, NFL, we're going home.
We're out. And
they did. And so then ESPN was left with the Sunday night package, all of it. And they paid their thing, and from 1998 until whatever they lost the Sunday night package. I don't know if you remember, but Major League Baseball, which Sunday night baseball was moved to ESPN2.
Yeah.
And Major League Baseball was like, what the? And so they signed eight-year deals in '98. Fox continued their NFC, $4.4 billion, also $550 million per season, so very similar to what CBS had gotten. ABC continued with Monday Night Football. They also paid $4.4 billion over 8 years. ESPN agreed to a $4.8 billion deal to become the sole cable broadcaster of NFL games. So it's interesting that Fox and CBS paid $4.4 billion, and they've got Sunday regional coverage, so they've got many games per week. And then ABC, $4.4 billion, ESPN $4.8 billion, but they've only got 1 week.
Right.
1 week of the game.
So now we've got 4 networks involved, right? Yeah, 4 networks, and they're all paying $4+ billion a piece. Or is it 5? Can I not count?
You're talking about now?
No, I'm talking about
back then. Back then, yes, it's 4.
Yeah. So the NFL's bringing in $16 billion, or somewhere around that, for just their TV contract at this point. And this is in the 90s.
Yes. All right, now we're getting into the 2000s.
Right.
2006, Fox and CBS renewed their Sunday afternoon broadcast packages through 2011. It increased, modest, so it's nothing too bad. The league and DirecTV signed a 5-year extension to their exclusive deal on NFL Sunday Ticket. Do you like Sunday Ticket?
I've never done it.
Okay.
I've thought about it a few times, but and I know it has some really cool features to it. But I've always been able to get the games I want to watch, so I've never done it.
Okay. All right, so no, because I only like one team,
right? And
I'm not paying X amount of money just to watch one team,
right?
It'd be great if I like a lot of teams, but no. All right, so meanwhile, ABC's having their TV ratings are starting to decline from Monday Night Football.
So they're starting to have a little.
And so they decide to end their relationship with the NFL, Monday Night Football. So, and the ABC primetime schedule was surging. I mean, it was popular during '04 and '05. So they said, yeah, we're not going to do Monday Night Football. So because of that, Monday Night Football moved from ABC to ESPN. They were both owned by the Walt Disney Company. The cable network paid $1.1 billion per year from '06 to 2014 for the rights. Now, unlike the broadcast networks, ESPN can generate revenue from subscription sales. Charging the
cable companies.
The cable companies.
Right.
So what does that mean? What does that mean? There's a hole in the schedule, Brian.
Okay.
Okay, you're not playing.
We have
NBC
nobody's doing Monday nights.
ESPN's doing Monday nights. I just said that.
Oh,
Were you not paying attention?
What's the hole in the schedule?
Meanwhile, NBC, after losing the AFC package to CBS in '97, was able to reclaim some broadcast rights with a deal worth an average of $650 million per year to air the Sunday night package from 2006 to 2014.
Oh, because ESPN gave up the Sunday night package to take the Monday night package.
Yes.
That's what I missed. Okay, well that makes sense.
The new deal included the Super Bowl in 2009 and 2012. All right, so what we're seeing here is that Monday Night Football back in the 70s when ABC first came up with the idea was no longer popular.
Right, it had lost its luster.
But the Sunday night was popular because it allowed the football fan to just watch basically football all day long.
Right.
And then Monday, you kind of go to work, and that kind of disrupted your football patterns. And so now the jewel is now the Sunday night package and not the Monday night package.
There's been a shift.
Right. So we're getting toward the presence. NBC's coverage also included the annual Hall of Fame game, the first two wild card playoffs in each postseason, right? And the annual Thursday opening kickoff game. The major difference was that the NFL allowed NBC flexibility in selecting games in the later part of the season.
Okay.
ABC did not have that right when they had the Monday night schedule in flexing. Which is why, when ABC had a package, you had some teams with losing records playing on Monday night. And so ABC's probably like, what the hell?
What is going on here?
Yeah. So we're getting close to what we have now, right? But there have been some more players involved, as it was pointed out. We had Amazon enter the fray. So for a while, from 2006 to most recently, it was CBS, Fox on Sunday afternoon, Fox NFC, CBS AFC, NBC, Sunday Night Football, ESPN, Monday Night Football. Recently, ESPN and ABC have been starting to share. Some games will be on ESPN Monday night. They'll have a doubleheader. Some games will be on ABC. Some games during the writer's strike last season, ABC would simulcast the Monday night games because they weren't showing any shows because it was the writer's strike. So that's what's going on. All right. So that's basically what we're at. The only thing I wanted to add, I wanted to get you the Amazon numbers. Let's see.
Right, because they entered the fray, 2 years ago? Maybe?
Yeah. And don't forget the NFL Network also did some Thursday night games. And those
The one
games
that
were
you've got-
produced by CBS and produced by Fox.
Is it HBO that does the series like where they follow the team? I'm trying to think.
The Hard Knocks?
Yeah, Hard
thing?
Knocks. Yeah, and that's HBO? I think that does that.
Yeah, but they don't do that anymore. But that's not covering games.
I know, but I'm just saying it's
Yeah.
more TV revenue for the NFL.
All right, so here we are. Verizon had held the rights to carry video simulcasts of NFL games to devices 7 inches or less. And so they had those rights. And, Verizon offered Thursday night games, but they could only use over, the Wi-Fi. But in March 2021, Amazon acquired exclusive rights to Thursday Night Football, which had been on the NFL Network, as part of the next round of NFL broadcasting agreements starting in 2022. So you're right, it's been a couple years.
Yeah.
The NFL Network, Fox, and Amazon opted out of the fiscal year agreement, meaning that Amazon's rights began in the 22 NFL season. Right? So let's see.
So now we got 5 networks in the fray.
Yep. Which is where we are currently. Hang on.
But only 3 of them have Super Bowl rights, correct? Does Fox gets one?
Well, ESPN ABC has also been added to that Super Bowl rotation. So Fox, CBS, NBC, and ABC.
Okay, so 4.
But ABC only gets one, every so often.
Right.
And then YouTube TV took over the NFL Sunday Ticket from DirecTV for $2 billion a year. And all the current deals have an opt-out clause after the 29 season, exception of the ESPN ABC deal, which has an opt-out clause after 2030. So that's basically in a nutshell.
NFL and the TV.
Yeah, sports and the NFL and sports and media looking at the NFL. So, it's like the NCAA. It went over time. You had some antitrust issues. You had the teams held their own TV rights, but then it slowly began for NCAA solely to the conferences. And then for the NFL, it began to the league itself. And then each year, you had these these broadcast networks, and they played musical chairs about who would cover what.
Right.
Would, increase their payout to the NFL because, as we showed, when CBS and NBC didn't have the NFL, their ratings declined. And it's a big ratings bonanza for these networks, and the Super Bowl is also still big,
Right.
Ratings thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
I mean, they're advertising, but, that's how the TV networks are making their money, and they need the NFL to generate those ratings.
Yep. So,
Interesting.
yeah. Do you have any final thoughts, Mr. Koperick?
No, just another very entertaining and educational sports deep dive.
Yeah. Mr. Kroperic, where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, you can get me at Random Things with BK, and I'm on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.
Random Things with BK is what?
It's a instructional video. I guess my producer labels me as a DIY coach. So
Yes.
I show you how to do different things, build things with wood, use metal, different reviews and how-tos for tools, automotive things. That's why it's random, because you never know what I'm going to teach you how to do on Random Things with BK.
All right. And once again, I am Roger Saracen. I am your host for the Sports Deep Dive podcast. You can find me on Blue Sky at 318 North. And you can find this podcast on any other distributors out there. And our home distributor is Podbean. So until next time, friends and neighbors, I'm just going to say so long.